justice or prepare for the roar. Thank you, madam.
माननीय सदस्य श्री लावू श्री कृष्णा जी।
Thank you, ma'am, for allowing me to speak on this bill. I stand in support of Coastal Shipping Bill 2024, ma'am. Ma'am, we have a great history of seafaring, trading, and maritime, ma'am. As Dada has just mentioned earlier, from medieval times, we were trading with all the way from mainland Europe to Japan, ma'am. And also, our shipbuilding has been one of the world class until the time British have arrived into the country, ma'am. So we had great history in maritime. But somehow, in the last few centuries or so, we have really fallen behind. And recently, we have been so far behind with regards to the logistics costs that India is bearing. When we look at logistics cost that India does have on par with the GDP, we have almost 13 to 14% of the cost that we have to pay for the logistics, whereas the global average is around 8 to 9%. So this is actually hampering the MSMEs, the manufacturing sector that is there in India. So to bring down this logistics cost, this bill is definitely very much needed, ma'am. And also the second reason that this bill is needed is with regards to the only 6.4% of the transport mix across the country that is happening with the waterways, either inland waterways or outside in the ocean as well. So this is very less when compared to the world average. So this bill is very much necessary to increase this transport mix so that more goods can be transported, ma'am. And also the third reason that this bill is very much needed is with regards to there's a provision for a 100% FDI that can be brought into this sector, ma'am. Unlike aviation sector, unlike the national highway sector, where when the FDI was allowed, it was very much well taken up, and most of the projects are being funded, ma'am. But somehow, because of a lot of bureaucracy that is involved in this sector, this 100% FDI, even though it is allowed, it is not being taken into the account, ma'am. So this bill is very much needed for encouraging this. Coming to the suggestion that I want to make, there's three suggestions, ma'am. The first one being I think Dada has already mentioned about this, that 50% of the Indian domestic cargo has to be mandated so that they can be transported via Indian flagged vessels. Example, China does that, wherein the China flagged vessels will have mandatory condition that some percentage of the cargo has to be taken care of by the Chinese flagged vessels. So I hope the ministry will take this into the account. The second suggestion is with regards to there's a lot of Indian seafarers that are doing a lot of good work, not only in Indian vessels, but the vessels outside the country also. So mandate the minimum quota for these Indian seafarers so that they can get better jobs on Indian vessels. The third suggestion I want to make is with regards to there is a 49% of Indian coastal fleet, which is almost 20 years old or more than 20 years old. So the requirement that these people are asking is to provide low-cost capital and long-term financing so that because we are shipbuilding as a whole, as an industry, it needs to be developed. We don't have a Indian shipping vessel fleet that when compared to even the small countries like France and Italy, they have their own shipping liners, but somehow India doesn't have it. Even China has it as a big nation. So I think we need to look into direction. For that to happen, this low cost and long-term financing is the need of the hour. I hope the ministry will take this into account. Coming to the Andhra Pradesh, when we have to talk about the shipping bill, we have to talk about Andhra Pradesh, ma'am, because we have one of the longest coastal line of 1,000 kilometers, and we have the 3 major ports and 12 non-major ports as well, ma'am. We have been coming on board with regards to by becoming a hub for the shipbuilding and maritime trade. And our Honorable Chief Minister Chandrababu Garu recently, I don't know if any other state have announced it, but in Andhra Pradesh there is a maritime policy that has been announced only 3 months back, because we understand the need of this industry, the need to develop this industry, so we have announced this policy. So because of this, there are 5 shipbuilding and ship repair clusters that the Union government has announced, and one is coming to Andhra Pradesh. I thank the Minister for sanctioning this. I thank the Prime Minister also for sanctioning this, ma'am. But on top of this, on top of allocating this shipbuilding and ship repair cluster, what I request is there's a Buckingham Canal that's there from last 100 and 150 years that goes via my district of Guntur all the way to Chennai, which will reduce the shipping cost and maritime cost. We have a lot of coastal line, a lot of ports on the ports, ma'am. But at the same time, if there is a inland shipping process also with this Buckingham Canal, I think that will actually bring down the logistics costs I've mentioned earlier. So I request the Honourable Minister to look into this. And last 2 points, ma'am, that this sector needs to be developed. That's why we brought in Andhra Pradesh, brought in the maritime policy. But for this sector to develop, there are 2 things that needs to be kept in mind. One is robust security mechanism that has to be there, and there's a urgent need of safeguarding the port assets. Why I'm telling you, ma'am, there's robust security mechanism, because the one example I can give you is Visakhapatnam port. There's an incident that happened in the last year around February, March, ma'am, wherein there's a shipping container that have come from Brazil to Andhra Pradesh. They've imported seafood, ma'am, so that seafood for the some industry related to the shrimp industry, ma'am. They imported the seafood. Somehow that Interpol has sent a message saying there is a cocaine that has been coming in, and because someone has alerted, the container that has come into the Vizag port, it has been stopped. Okay, they stopped it. I understand that. But there's a process, due process that needs to be followed. Maybe take 10 days, take 20 days, take 1 month. But the whole process extended by 9 months to clear that there's no cocaine that is being transported in that shipping container. If the process takes 9 months, ma'am, imagine if someone has to come and invest in the sector in India. So how will they be encouraged when this whole process can take 9 months? Eventually, I have to say it in the house, even my name was dragged into that incident. My name was that somehow it is associated or something, but eventually there's nothing that has been found. But why I'm telling this example is 9 months of clearing a small issue doesn't sound well when we are asking for FDI to come in, 100% FDI to come in. So I request the minister to look into this issue. Second issue, ma'am, with regards to the Kakinada port. Kakinada port, my fellow MP is also sitting here, and I'm mentioning this issue because we need to safeguard the port assets. Because I'll give you an example of what has happened. There was, in the previous government, what has happened was this Kakinada port, which was valued around 2,500 crores for the 40% stake. It has been taken by force by 494 crores. Whereas where it is owned by 2,500 crores, it has been taken out for 494 crores. So, ma'am, this might happen, this will happen, this might happen, maybe in the inside trading or whatever it is, ma'am. But the problem, the crux of the problem here is the maritime trade gets affected. Whatever the goods that has to be transported from this port gets hampered because of this non-protection of the port assets, ma'am. So I request the minister to actually look into how these transactions are being done, so that there is some transparency. Because as a country, we also don't want to lose any of this. Whenever this transaction happens, there is some income that the government gets, either central government or the state government also gets. Definitely, there are so many people that are involved. There's so many employees that are involved in the port, working in this port. They also get affected. So I request the minister to look at it. When we are looking for 100% FDI to come in, when we want the whole thing to be streamlined and much more process-driven, I request the minister to look into issues with regards to the security as well as safeguarding of the port assets, ma'am. With this observation, I support this bill wholeheartedly, ma'am. Thank you.
माननीय सदस्य श्री आलोक